Welcome back to the Wicked Edition. I'm Dr. Kingori. Our subject tonight is breakups, and it's very important because most relationships don't even last as long as this show. Our guest tonight is an expert in that field. He is a doctor just like me, but the good thing about that, how you know he is an expert in this field, he has a heart in his name. Dr. Chris Hart. Thank you. Welcome to the show, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you. First of all, I know this is a very curious question, personally for me, and I know it represents very many people out there. What's a relationship expert? Because to my understanding, someone who's been in so many relationships that
Well, I'm actually a psychologist, so my real skill is in what's known as social skills. So how people communicate, how they form relationships, all that sort of stuff is what I study.
Before we even get to breakups, the issue of being clobbered by your wife. The other is domestic violence.
Yes.
If you beat your wife, that's domestic violence. This other one of your wife getting a piece of you
hasn't actually got a name, has it?
Yes.
I'll tell you a very interesting thing.
Yes.
Women are just as likely to beat up their husbands as husbands are likely to beat up their wives. And in fact, 3 times as many women will pick up a weapon in a fight in the house than a man will. So actually, it's very much an equal opportunities activity.
So that's the problem. When your wife beats you up is because she got to the weapon before.
Yeah, absolutely. and the real problem, as you obviously know, is that there are lots and lots of organizations who take the side of the wife in such situations.
Yes.
But you imagine the guy going to a police station and trying to report an assault by his wife. It's just not going to work out, is it?
Thank you. And I asked that question curiously because in my research, I stumbled upon some personal information. Turns out your wife holds a black belt in karate.
Yes, that is true. So, of course, I have to behave myself.
That's how you became an expert. You behaved yourself. You know how you're supposed to behave.
She's very good as my wife. She is a second dan black belt, but she's also an expert in self-defense. And we were once set upon by thieves. Well, that didn't last very long, I can tell you.
So you went and sat on a stone? And
no, I just, almost the moment the guy got near us, that was it. It was all over.
You passed out?
Yeah, it's very nice. No, not me, him.
Have you ever found yourself in a position that you need, you invited her wrath, like...
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
How long
we get on very well. We've been together for over 10 years.
I know people are used to being advised on how to stay together, but the world now has decided to go separate ways. What's your advice on the style to break up? How do you break up in style that you don't get violent? You be professional about it.
Well, if you're talking about very new relationships, there's not much difficulty breaking up. You just don't answer the calls quite so frequently, and before you know it, you're not in a relationship anymore. But if you're talking about been together for months and months, then it's only kind to do it kindly, to put it bluntly. In other words, don't have a terrible row. Just say in a nice way that obviously this is not going to work out. It's my fault. You and I are not getting along together, and it's my fault. So I think it's over. And if you say it out loud, then generally speaking, people are okay with that.
Okay, and we have a debate of who should actually propose, and it's actually men. Men are the ones who are supposed to say, will you marry me?
Yes.
If you take that debate inversely, who's supposed to introduce the breakup?
Okay. First of all, you're right. Society expects that the man will propose. His girlfriend expects that he will propose. But it is not him, generally speaking, who makes the decision. It would be a very foolish man who proposed to a girl, not having checked, first of all, that she wanted him to. True?
Yes.
In fact, at every stage in relationships, women make the decisions.
Yeah, that's true.
If I walk into a crowded room and there are lots of pretty girls, which ones do I talk to? I can't talk to them all. If I did, they'd think there was something very weird about me. Instead, I only go to the ones who invite me, and they do that with their body language and so on. And the same thing happens at a proposal. The girl basically says to the man, I want you to propose. And if you don't propose, this relationship's going nowhere. A year or two later, or 10 or 15 years later, when it becomes time to part, it will usually be the woman who makes the decision.
Oh, so basically, the decision to initiate the relationship
is the woman. Yes.
To initiate the... No, okay, Basil, in that case, what body language do you look for to know that this woman wants me?
Well, you think what happens when a guy walks into a place where he's looking for a partner and there are pretty girls in a room. The first thing he does when he walks in is to find a place that he can hang out for a few minutes, get a drink in his hand maybe, and then he just starts looking around, doesn't he?
Identify them.
And he is looking at the pretty girls and he's looking at their eyes. And what he's really looking for is how they react when their eyes meet. Because, for example, you know, if I look across at a girl and she instantly goes like that, it's quite obvious she doesn't really want to talk to me. Oh, you see what I mean? On the other hand, if she looks briefly a little bit embarrassed, looks down a tad, and then just looks back up and smiles, she's actually quite keen I should walk across.
Okay, members of Team Dry Spell, look out. And what do you make of the relationships, of the social media relationships, those that people display everything that they are doing, because most breakups have been attributed to that?
Yeah, I think there's a really important rule about successful relationships, which is that you should actually keep everything to yourselves. It should be confidential. Now, it's one thing to walk down the street with a ring on your finger. It's another thing to be saying on social media, oh, we're doing this, I think this, he's done that, she's done the other. It's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Yes, yes.
So there's no doubt about it that people who display their relationships on the social media make the relationships a lot more fragile. Okay. It's one of the reasons why media people in general have a much tougher time than the average guy, because everybody's watching and you're constantly being tempted to say something about your relationship, and often you end up saying things you shouldn't say.
And how do you meet your wife? Yes.
How did I meet my wife?
Yes.
I hate to admit this, but I met her on the internet.
Thank you. That's why he gave that. Now we know. Now we know. At least there's hope.
It was a little different though. She wrote me an email as a result of an article I wrote.
Then I think you're safe, because to break up you'll need an email again.
Yes,
that's true. That's strong. And most relationships have different dynamics of how they work. Different people break up over different things. The pettiest breakup I've had, people broke up over intonation. Like the question, utakula, simple, will you eat? So the story was, there is a difference between utakula and utakula. People broke up over that. Some people still continue with the relationship even after being cheated on. So do you think there's like a...
most do. Everybody thinks that some form of infidelity is the commonest sort of breakup. It's not. It's far from the commonest.
Okay.
Most couples who've had some form of infidelity, especially if it's the first, they carry on. And a lot of people end up saying that the relationship's improved because for the first time they really start talking about serious things and looking for the real dynamics of the relationship. The commonest reason why people break up is because they've become lonely, because the two are not really paying enough attention to one another.
In your experience, marriage experience, relationship experience, this is off the camera. This is
really?
Your wife will not watch this part. Now, do you ever feel the need to get experimental how men are, regardless of the black belt? Remember, I know.
Yes, the black belt's a real problem. No, I don't actually. I mean, I'm very fortunate with my wife that she and I get along extremely well, and off the camera, everything I could possibly want in a relationship, she's able to provide. And of course, that has to be one of the keys to a successful relationship. Whatever it is you guys want, you need to find someone who's willing to provide that. If two people succeed in doing that, they're going to be very happy together.
But if you really are that straightforward, why does she even need the black belt?
She had the black belt before I met her.
And you got into the relationship knowing that she had
Yes,
a
in
black
fact, I watched her get her first black belt. It was actually hilarious. She got to the point where they end up sparring, and the fight lasted less than 10 seconds. All of a sudden, the guy was flat on his back.
That was a slap.
No, it was a serious attack. And he's never forgiven her, by the way. I don't think they've ever spoken again since. This is a guy 3 times her size that she flattened as part of her grading when she was getting her black belt. She's a dangerous lady.
That was Chris Hart giving you tips on how to break up. I hope. I hope you got something. That's it for the Wicked Edition. See you next week. My name is Dr. Kingori.